Hey, it's Paul from howtoplaybassdotcom. In today's lesson, we're going to look at playing Blues on the Bayou by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Pretty straightforward, mid-tempo-ish. It's about 115 beats per minute, I think. Straight eighth note blues feel. Doesn't have the 12-bar kind of blues format that you might be used to in more traditional rock blues, the kind of things Clapton does, other people like that, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Very much built around E7, uses that chord modality a lot, but pretty straightforward song to put under your belt and to repertoire of tunes that you can play. Definitely suggest you do that. Before we get going with the intro, click the link underneath the video. If you're not already a subscriber to my free monthly e-zine, head over to my website and go and sign up. You get a bunch of song tutorials in PDF and video format as a thank you for signing up, and also there's a monthly song tutorial, again video and PDF format, that you get, and all this material is exclusive to subscribers. So go and do that and then come back here and we'll get started with the intro for Blues on the Bayou. Okay, the intro to Born on the Bayou is an 8-bar pattern and sets up the basic kind of phrase that is the bulk of the song is built on. That kind of pattern. We'll come to that in a second. There's a little fill as well that brings it in. You're just going to hammer on from D to E, 7th and 9th frets of the G string, play G again, and then you're down to the lower E, 7th fret of the A string, and that's the first note of the pattern. Now, the pattern, excuse me, is a 2-bar pattern, and it repeats. It's got little variations which we'll look at as we go through. To start off, the notes we're using E, 7th fret of the A string, and B and C sharp, the 7th and 9th frets of the E string. So it's E, B, C sharp, B, C sharp, E, E, B, C sharp, B, C sharp, B. And that pattern just plays 3 times to finish the intro off. Bring in verse 1, which has got slight variation on the pattern. Let's go and have a look at verse 1. You just heard verse 1 with sketch band in a box track. Band in a box track is being played about 100 beats per minute. The original is about 115, I think, 116 beats per minute. I've just slowed it down a little bit so you can get a closer look or an easier look at what I'm doing. Now, I've got some variations to talk through. The main variation is that 2-bar pattern we just looked at. What we've got is the same notes, but when we come back to the E, instead of it being sustained, it's plays more staccato. So this is the E at the end of on the and beat of beat 4, the first time through the 2-bar pattern. So this was how we played it in the intro. And this is how we'll play it in the verse. Only a subtle, tiny difference, but still worth having. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go through the The first verse is an 8-bar pattern with a 4-bar tag before verse 2 comes in. We're just going to go through it bar by bar. It's mostly as we've just looked at, but the first bar starts off with 2 quarter notes, so we're going to play. There's a variation there in the first bar. I'm playing 2 E's, then B, B, C sharp, E, and then we're into the rest of the pattern. Okay, then we've got the pattern as normal. And again. Okay, then the 4th time you repeat the pattern, so the end of the verse, there's a variation. We're going to first bar is as before, but then the second bar is, so we're playing E, E, and then a chromatic run from G sharp to A sharp to B, 6, 7, 8th, 9th frets of the D string. That's the end of the first verse, and then we go back to the tag, and we're going to play something like this. So something slightly different there in the very 12th bar, or the 4th bar of the tag. 2-bar pattern. First bar is as normal, and then we're playing, and we're going B, C sharp, B, C sharp, B. We're going back to B at the end of that pattern, rather than going up to E. So there's a slight variation there. That's verse 1. Second verse is similar, but we've got a little chorus tag on, so let's move on and look at the second verse. So you just heard verse 2 with the kind of chorus tagged on. All in all, it's a 16-bar section. I'll play through it note by note. We're going to start out with the basic pattern that we've already played. We'll play that 3 times, the 2-bar pattern. And then the 4th time through the pattern at the end of the verse, we've got this kind of chorus tag, and this is what we're going to play. So the first time through, the rest of the time it's slightly similar. I'll show you what changes. So we've got the first bar as normal, and then the second bar we're playing E, D, A, G. E is the 7th fret of the A string, of course. D is the 5th fret of the A string. A is the 5th fret of the E string. G is the 3rd fret of the E string. Now that G might sound a little dissonant to you, playing in an E7 chord, so you'd more expect it to be G sharp, but it's the and of the 4th beat, and you just won't hear it before you get to the next bit. And we're going to play a variation of that where we play that phrase another 4 times, and everything's the same except the first note moves from being E there to the open E string. So the 2-bar phrase becomes so all as before: open E, B, C sharp, B, C sharp, E, E, D, A, G, and then back to the open E, which starts the phrase off again. So all in all, you play through the first pattern that we looked at 3 times, and then you play the kind of chorus pattern 5 times. Chorus pattern being etc. etc. Out of this verse 2, we're going to go into a guitar solo. There's a lot of repetition in the guitar solo, so what I'm going to do is we'll move along to the play along with Band in a Box, and I'll talk through what I'm doing, but the first 4 bars are part of a section that repeats more than that pattern, that 2-bar pattern twice. So I'll talk through that in the next section, but we'll go listen to the Band in a Box sketch play along first. Okay, you just heard sketch play along of the sections of the guitar solo. As I said before that, the first 4 bars are part of another section, so we'll just go through it. You'll pick up, if you listen to that, you'll pick up where I'm going. So the guitar solo starts off with kind of 2 bars which set us up. Remember, we're playing from the... So the first note of this 2 bars is the open E. The rest of it is just that normal pattern, so it's the same pattern as before, but just with the open E's starting it. Then we're going to get into that kind of pattern, and we're going to play that 2-bar pattern 7 times. If you go listen to the original recording, you'll see that's repeated 7 times, and then we get into the change, which you'll hear. Section. Okay, so that 2-bar pattern is so we're playing 2 Ds, 2 A's, open E, octave E, B, C sharp, B, C sharp, B. You should know all the note locations because we've used them in earlier parts of the tutorial. That phrase repeats. Okay, then we've got 4 bars where we're playing this chord progression again of D, A to E7. This time the bass line's playing something like this. Okay, so what we're playing is D, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. D's the 5th fret of the A string. F sharp, G, G sharp, A, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th frets of the D string. Then we're down to C sharp, D, E, 4th, 5th and 7th frets of the A string. Another E, and then we've got B, C sharp, B, C sharp, B, 7th and 9th frets of the E string as before. Then the second time through that kind of pattern, so again, D, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, then we've got C sharp, D, E, that E's held for 2.5 beats, and then we've got B, C sharp, B, B. Then we've got a section, it's all in E7, but we're playing, and again the notes we're playing, E at the 7th fret of the A string, B, the 7th fret of the E string, open E, B, C sharp, E, and we're playing something like this. And then you'll be out of the guitar solo there, and then we've got 4 bars where we're just going to play the riff. into the next section of the tune. So that section in the E7, if you listen to the play along I just did, listen to the original, you should be able to pick that up and play through that. Now that's the majority. You've learnt all that you need to know to get through the tune, but I'll just move on to another section and just talk about how we then use that information to play out the rest of the tune. Okay, most of the parts, as I just said, that you need for the rest of the tune, you've pretty much learnt now. After that first guitar solo, we go to verse 3 and chorus 2, and each of those sections is 8 bar long, and you just play the basic 2 bar pattern that you need to make for each groove. So the verse pattern is, and the chorus pattern is, that kind of pattern. So those are the 2 patterns you need for that. That just gets you through to the second guitar solo, which is pretty much built up of sections we've already learnt from the first guitar solo. I'll go through the second guitar solo in a second. And then after the second guitar solo, we go to another verse, another chorus, and then you go to that main 2 bar pattern, and it's just repeated and faded. So it's pretty straightforward. So the guitar solo for Guitar Solo 2 is built around this figure that we did at the end of Guitar Solo 1. So it's just E to B to open E, B, C sharp, E. So play that pattern pretty much unaltered 3 times. Then play this variation. So it's the same pattern, but the first note of 2 beats has been replaced with E to B, back to E, all the 7th frets of the A or the E string. Then play the normal pattern again, twice, and then play that variation again. And then we use the D to A to E7 progression again. I'm going to play something like this. Then we're back into it. We're back into that riff. So what we're playing is 2 Ds, 2 As, though this time they're 8th notes. The Ds were quarter notes. Then we've got open E, G sharp, 4th fret of the E string, A, 5th fret of the E string, A sharp, 6th fret of the E string, B, 7th fret of the E string, another B, C sharp, 4th fret of the A string, D, 5th fret of the A string, D sharp, 6th fret, and E at the 7th fret before we drop down to the E. And the kind of timing of that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, listen to the original and you'll get it. Then we've got this 2 bar pattern, starting on the low E that time, but then we go to the high E. Play that another 4 times after that, and that will get you through the guitar solo, and then that leads you to the verse and the chorus, as I already said. So that's Guitar Solo 2. Pretty much made up of parts you've already done, apart from that transition up the E7 chord that I just walked through. Put all the parts together and you'll be able to play through the tune.